Hello everyone, and welcome to this video about connecting with gods and goddesses. This video is inspired, sort of born out of a comment by Indigo Moon, who asked me how to deepen connection with Bast on my meditation to meet the goddess Bast video. And I got to thinking about this, and I guess my sort of process is similar in lots of ways for lots of deities, and I just thought, I wonder if it's useful if I share some ideas about that. Now, of course, with all things in spiritual, it's, take what resonates with you and just ignore what doesn't. And I can't speak from other people's experience or the experience of people who connect with gods and goddesses through specific circles, covens, cults, etc., because that's not my experience. And so I can only talk about my personal experience, but I'm wondering if I just share a little bit of that, if that might be useful or interesting. So, ways that connecting with gods and goddesses, deities, they come into my world in different ways, and it's not always immediately obvious. You probably see from the flavour of my videos, I have quite a penchant for I really love the Egyptian pantheon. A lot of the gods and goddesses I love from the Egyptian pantheon, I find them really accessible. That's not to say I don't love gods and goddesses from other pantheons, it's just that I find they come quite naturally to me. I think that's probably something to do with past lives, and you may find that too. You may find that you have particular pantheons or particular gods and goddesses that you feel a deep attachment to. Now, it's not for me to tell you what you believe in, whether you believe in past lives or not, but for me, I think there's something about, or skills I've discovered in this lifetime, that don't feel new. And I think this is really important to remember, that actually, even if something is new to you in this lifetime, doesn't mean that you haven't done it before. And so you might find on your spiritual journey that you suddenly can do something, or you find something really easy, or you have a really deep connection with something that you can't really explain. And I think sometimes that is just because it's not actually new to you, it's just you rediscovering it. And you might find this, like I say, with deities. So you might find as well that you've had an interest in a particular god or goddess for a while. And if one of them piques your interest, it's often a really good sign to follow it, because, there's already a connection there if it's piquing your interest. And it's much more interesting to pay attention to something that you like than it is to force yourself to pay attention to something that you think you should like, or that you ought to be following, or a practice that you ought to be doing. And I think that stands well for all spiritual practice, and that's why I say keep what resonates and ditch the rest. So in terms of gods and goddesses and deepening connection with them, I like to think about all magical stuff working. So I live in a physical body, and then I have all my emotions and feelings going on with that, and then I have the spiritual stuff as well. So I feel like I work on multiple levels. And so one of the things that I think, if you're trying to build a deeper connection with a particular god or goddess, then it's worth considering all of those levels, because the more connections you can make, the easier it becomes. It's like you use two different sides of your brain. Like one side of your brain is linear information and one side of your brain is more creative information, then actually if you use both sides, you've got a better, stronger connection. Well, the same goes with different layers as well in terms of mind, body, spirit. And so if you've got a particular deity that you're interested in, I'm going to use an example from my friend recently who I was talking to. We talked about, she's got a particular affinity with Persephone, and Persephone is associated with pomegranates in Greek mythology, from eating pomegranate seeds. And that's actually really easy to physically get going in the world, the energy of, because actually if she's my friend, brilliant, I love it, just keep it so practical and simple. She now, when she's in the supermarket, whenever she sees something that's pomegranate flavoured, she gets it. So her shower gel is pomegranate flavoured, and her washing up liquid is pomegranate flavoured. And you know, if she sees a picture with a pomegranate on, or wrapping paper, or you know, literally pomegranates for her represent Persephone. And so it becomes quite easy once you get the hang of, that's what represents her to me. Then all of a sudden you'll start to see more opportunities to have those things in your life. You may find that actually, if you're drawn to a particular god and goddess, when you have a good think about what they represent, what they like, what they're into, then you may find you already own things that associate and resonate with them. You may find the connection is already there and you're kind of giving conscious attention to it, which brings me a bit more to the mind bit, because these things all link together, which is, if you have a god or goddess that you're interested in, it's worth getting your mind involved with that. And to do that, like I would say, watch movies where they appear as characters, read the mythology, look at pictures, just generally seek information to fill your mind with information about them. Ultimately, these are always going to be other people's perceptions of those gods and goddesses, and how you connect with them and how they appear to you and how it works for you. It's totally up to you, and that will come naturally, because we all vary in the way that we see them and perceive them. But actually, if you go and fill your mind up with that stuff, then it's also going to be easier if you're thinking, well, what things are associated with my god or goddess? Then you'll start to see them in the world as well. So, for example, you know, Persephone, pomegranates, Bast, cats, and I associate her with dancing and fire and that sort of thing. So I see more things like that when I'm looking at Bast. You know, if you're working with Poseidon, you might have loads of sea orientated stuff. And then what you can do is just build it into your life. And if you consciously build it into your life as a daily reminder, go back to my friend with her shower gel. So every morning when she have a shower with her Persephone shower gel, she's reminded of Persephone and her connection with it. She does the washing up, she does the dishes with her dishwashing liquid, pomegranates, Persephone again, and literally she's just building it into her every day. At the moment, I'm deeply into the sea, and my house, pretty much every room in my house has a seashell or a picture of the sea or things like that all around my house at the moment, because that's what I'm working with. And the same goes for any particular god or goddess that you want to connect with more deeply. So if we've got the body going on and we've got the physical things around you that remind you of them, and you've got the mind thing, and you're going and you're filling your mind with the information about them, then the next bit is spirit. Now, if you're on my channel, you may well have already seen some of my meditations to access and meditate with particular gods and goddesses, and I think that meditation is often a really good place to start, because meditation puts your brain into a different state and it's more open. And I think when you are meditating, I think it's really important that you don't get in your own way if you can try. So if you try to suspend your judgment and just go with letting it flow, it's very easy to doubt yourself, particularly if you're right in the beginning of it. But you might find meditation just makes it a bit easier to visualize and connect. I would say be open to all of your senses. So, you know, sight, smell, hearing, taste, thinking, knowing, feeling, all of it, because actually not everybody sees things visually, and you might connect with a god or a goddess through a particular smell or a particular, you know, you might have a goddess that's associated with flowers or springtime, and then you might smell flowers when you're connected with them. It depends on how it works for you, and only you can build that sort of personal connection. I think don't doubt it. If you hear a voice in your head, then don't question it. You can always ask if it is them, and they might answer you, and I would just go with it. The spiritual stuff, it comes more with confidence. I find that's the biggest thing that gets in people's way. Once you stop questioning and you just accept, then all sorts of things can plop into your mind and you can be delighted and surprised and amazed by them. So in terms of the meditations I do, or other ones, or you might find a way of, if you've got an object that you particularly connect with a deity with, you know, we're back to the physical stuff, you might want to hold it and meditate on that object. Or if you've got an image, you might want to hold it and meditate on that image. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a basic starting point is hold it and breathe and just focus on the thing in your hand, or focus on the image. Don't just watch your breathing, really calm down your breathing, and then focus on the image or the object. Or like I say, you can use, there are other meditations that you can find out there for particular gods and goddesses. You can use those, you can use prayer, you can write to them, like write notes to them specifically, asking for them, but just generally go with what feels good to you, because generally if it's right, it will feel good. If it's, you know, weird and clunky and not really working, then maybe that's not for you, and maybe you need to go pursue something in a direction that does feel natural to you. So that's sort of a little bit about how I work with it, and I hope it's useful to you. I know I've rambled a lot there, but I'm hoping that you might find some useful bits in there to help you on your journey. I'd love to hear about who you connect with and how you connect with it. And as always, I love to hear your suggestions of what you'd like me to talk about or meditate on next. Have a beautiful day.